Hello, how y'all doing today? So one of my hobbies, one thing that I like to do is I like to watch horror films. Well, I like movies in general, but I really enjoy horror films. Not good ones, like not your Hereditaries, your Parasite, your Get Out. No. What I really love is to find something obscure either on Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, Roku, all the things, all the streaming services that we have to pay for now. Any one of those. I just like to find something that's not in the mainstream, but could be good, could be promising. At the end of the day, hopefully it's just entertaining. Because sometimes that's all I want. I don't want a deep film. I just want to be entertained. So I found one a while back, a year or two ago. It just kind of stuck with me, and I really wanted to talk about it, just because the premise of it to me was so funny to me. Yeah, it's good because basically it takes two concepts. One of those concepts being, Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window concept. It takes that and combines it with Bigfoot. That's right, Bigfoot, the big guy in the woods, who may or may not exist. Who knows? We have no evidence for or against it. A lot of people see stuff. I don't know. I'm just saying. So I just thought it was a really funny concept, and the movie's entertaining. So let's just get into it. This is the horror film Abominable. It's from 2006. And let's just dive into it's a wild ride. It is a crazy ride. So let's just dive into this wild ride. So the film opens up the way a lot of creature features do, to a farmhouse, and it's dark, it's at night, and we have Farmer Billy and his wife, and they've been woken up by some kind of animal fighting sounds. And so Farmer Billy and his wife and their dog go to check it out. By the way, dog's really cute, but don't get attached because we know how these stories go. So they go out, check out what's going on, and they find that their horse has been murdered by something in the woods. They don't know yet. And it's a pretty gruesome scene. However, the horse is clearly like a statue. Like, this is not a big budget film. And they did, one thing I did like about it is that they didn't do any CGI. It's 2006, and a lot of people a lot of films at that time were doing a lot of excessive CGI, especially the lower budget ones. So, but this one does, for the most part, a lot of FX, makeup, guys in suits, stuff like that. So it's very clearly a like a horse from someone's yard, like a fake one, and then they just put blood and guts and stuff on it. That part looks a little realistic, the blood and the guts. So if you like that, you're gonna enjoy this. So after they discover the horse, they still hear noises, and then the dog, who I'm gonna call Sparky, I don't think he has a name. Or did he have a name? Maybe that was his name. I'll call him Sparky anyway. He hears something in the woods, and then he runs off after it, and we never see him again. As I said, don't get too attached to him. He's very cute, but, there he goes. And then Farmer Billy and his wife, they're, hollering for the dog to come back, and then they see something in the woods. It's a giant, shape of some kind. It's like, we don't know, it's like a silhouette. Very large silhouette. So after they see the silhouette, they're like, okay, we need to amscray out of here. So they run into their house, where they're continuing being harassed by something. Something's like walking around the house, making noises, trying to peep in windows, like a peeper Tom. So Farmer Billy and his wife are trying to lay low, so maybe it'll go away, and they luck out because it does. Eventually it just kind of goes away. So when the coast appears to be clear, they go outside, and of course it's been snowing. So they go outside and they look, and there's these giant footprints. It's like, oh my god, what would have such a giant footprint? Jeez Louise. End scene. So that's like the dramatic opening scene, and you know, the entrance to the Bigfoot character, or we don't know it's Bigfoot yet. So in our next scene, we're introduced to our leading man, Preston Rogers, and his nurse, Nurse Otis. And they're in their car, they're headed up into the woods. They're talking along the way. Nurse Otis says his doctor said this trip would be good for Preston. Preston doesn't want to go. And we don't know why Preston doesn't want to go yet. But his nurse is really a dick about it. He's a jerk. He's a dick. And this is kind of a stickler for me in this whole movie, that his nurse is just a dick the whole time, the whole movie. He's terrible. He's just a really terrible nurse, awful bedside manner. I give him 0 stars. But he's just kind of a jerk. So Preston and his nurse, while they're on their way up the mountain, they stop at a gas station for some snacks. And the gas station attendant has a lot of information, as gas station attendants tend to do in horror films. Just a plethora of information. Why not? They know everything. But he does know about what happened to Preston. So we find out that Preston was in a climbing accident and his wife died. And the accident was while he was climbing Suicide Rock. Like, yeah, seriously, Suicide Rock is the name. So that's aptly named, I guess. So they get their snacks, get that information, and then they're on their way up. So Preston and Otis finally reach Preston's cabin, and it is nice. It is a nice cabin. Once they get there, Nurse Otis, he gets out, and then he gets a wheelchair out for Preston. And that's when it's revealed that he's paralyzed from the waist down. So now we understand what's going on with him. Also, Preston's house is overlooking or underlooking Suicide Rock, so he can see the horrible place where he had the horrible accident right from his house, and which also causes him to have flashbacks about it. So Preston and his nurse, they go into his house, they're getting settled, and Preston's looking around and sees pictures of his wife, and he's feeling sad and nostalgic. And while they're unpacking, his nurse suddenly says, "Hey, I didn't get your soy milk for your shake, but I got real milk. It won't kill you. It's fine. We'll just use that." And Preston's like, "I'm allergic." And I'm just sitting there like, okay, so another strike against this nurse. Like, he's allergic to milk. You know, you should know that. You should know it's important for him to have his soy milk. You know, he's allergic to milk. As I said, he's a terrible nurse. He drives me crazy. Drives me nuts. But anyway, his nurse decides to go into town to get his soy milk. And so now Preston is just left alone in the cabin. Nothing to do. So we'll see what Preston gets himself into. So Preston's alone in his cabin, and then all of a sudden he hears some kind of stomping down the mountain. It's very loud. It's knocking down his photos, and we're just like, what is it? Is it Bigfoot? Are we gonna see him finally? So he goes outside to check it out, and who shows up but next door? It's a bunch of girls in a Jeep with their loud music blasting everywhere, and they're here for a bachelorette weekend. So not only do we have the rear window situation and Bigfoot, but we've added the bachelorette weekend into the mix. So it's gonna be a good time. So Preston's just out on his balcony, just kind of looking at the girls, kind of glancing and seeing what's going on. We get a little meet cute. One of the girls, Amanda, she drops some bags because she's super clumsy. And she looks up and she sees Preston from the balcony. She smiles and she waves. And he waves back. And then he rolls back into the house. And that's just kind of it for that But yeah, there was a little, hi, how are you? From afar, because he's way up here and she's down on the ground over there. So, but it was cute. Well, I'm sure that will come into play later, as it does. So later in the evening, Preston's taking his meds, and his nurse is still not back yet. And the girls are outside, they're chilling on the porch, having some beers, having a good time, listening to music, just chatting. So everyone's having a good time. Until all of a sudden, Preston looks out the window and he notices there are some sparks kind of in the distance, which seems to be, it's like on the power line, so it seems like one of the transformers or the power line has gone out. It's exploded. And the phones are now out. The landlines are now out. And this is 2006, so not everybody has a cell phone, really. It's not the heyday of cell phones yet. But the landlines, it is the heyday of landlines. The landlines are now out and useless, as landlines are currently pretty much useless. Okay, so here's where we get into the rear window situation. So Preston's got some binoculars, and he's gonna go check out what, like, the power line situation, so we can see it from afar. So he gets his binoculars, and he's looking at the power line, and wonders, oh, I wonder what the girls are up to. It's like, oh, what are these chicks up to? What's going on? What's happening? So while he's looking at them, one of the girls mentions that the phone is out. So she's going to use her cell phone to make a phone call. And she starts wandering away from the cabin to go call her boyfriend. And Preston just follows her with his gaze, and he notices something in the woods behind her, and then he wipes his binoculars off because all of a sudden they're foggy for some reason. And then he looks back, the girl is gone, and the cell phone's like on the driveway in the ground, and it's like, what happened? Like, the girl is just missing. So he goes to get his flashlight and looks again, but of course all he sees is the cell phone in the driveway and the girl's gone, so he can't get a better look at her. Then he tries to yell for the girls in the cabin, but they open up the window and they're like, get away, you perv! Get away! Because they just think he's a peeping Tom perv. So then he hears some more animal sounds in the woods, and he sees some yellow eyes suddenly staring back at him. And he drops the flashlight dramatically, and then he starts slowly backing into the cabin, and he turns off his lights for another rear window moment where you go inside and you turn off the lights so they can't see that you're watching them. But now he's able to watch the girls in the cabin, and he notices something is going over there, like some creature or something. And since the phones aren't working, he decides he's going to email the police. And I'm kind of like, wait, the phones aren't working, but the email's working? That doesn't make sense because this is 2006. So it's probably, wouldn't it be like DSL or something? Anyway, don't argue with it, just go with it. Just go with it. So he decides he's going to email the police. And it's funny because I saw this in another movie recently, another horror film, which I will talk about maybe in another video because it was really good too. But this is this interesting thing where he's like, I'm gonna email the police. I'm like, who emails the police? Has anyone ever emailed the police? Is this a thing where you email the police and they show up like as something is happening? I guess if you don't have a phone and you don't have any other resource to contact them, but you can email, it's very, it's just, in my mind, it's not a thing. It's just like, I just don't feel like the police will answer an email any quicker than they would answer a phone call or anything like that. But email especially, come on. Email is basically snail mail at this point. It used to be regular mail, but regular mail doesn't exist. So as he's writing his email, emailing the police, something starts to creep up behind him. And it's his nurse finally back from the store. So the nurse turns off his computer, so we don't know if Preston's email goes to the police or not. We don't know if he was able to send it before that happened. But Preston tries to explain what's going on to the nurse. I'm calling Nurse Dick, because I really disliked him so much. He wants Nurstick to go and tell the girls what's up, but he isn't going to do it because he doesn't believe Preston. He thinks Preston's making stuff up because he doesn't want to be there anyway. He wants to go home. So he's just going to make him dinner first, and then maybe if that other girl isn't back, then they'll go over and tell him what's up. But for now, we're not going to do anything. So cut back from that scene. Now we're going to go back over to Farmer Billy and his storyline. So we're going to go over to Farmer Billy, who is now on a camping trip with his gang of boys, which is the gas station attendant, which doesn't have a name, so I'm going to call him Junior, and a new character, Buddy Boy. So Junior says he's got a map that his granddaddy had to the creature, which only comes out at night. And this is a really funny scene. I really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite ones in the movie. Because there's a discussion of the Darwin Awards, and they're just dudes just jiving on each other. But it's about the Darwin Awards, and I don't know if y'all remember what those are. But the Darwin Awards are basically where stupid people remove themselves from the gene pool by dying in a really stupid way. It was a big book series in like the 2000s, and it's made me think of my dad, because we used to always talk about like the Darwin Awards, and when we'd hear something like someone dying in a weird way, we would always be like, it's a Darwin Award. That was our thing, because we have a morbid sense of humor. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed this scene a lot. All of a sudden, there's some noise in the woods, and Junior says, "You smell that, boys? Well, we're not alone." Then Buddy Boy, he walks off on his own to go and check it out. And Junior has a good line. He says, "Another Darwin Award coming up." So Buddy Boy's going off to investigate, and he sees some blood on the ground. He finds a cave. He decides to investigate the cave by himself. Of course he does. As he walks deeper into the cave, he finds like a lot of bones. So something is feeding in that cave, and he finds a human skeleton, and then he starts to hear some moaning, and he finds the missing girl from the cabin. She's there. She's injured badly, and Buddy probably can't move her because she's injured really, really bad. So he says he's going to go get help, and then suddenly something arrives in the cave, and the girl is just dragged off into the darkness. Cut back to the camp, and the boys, they hear the gunshots, and because Buddy's like trying to fire at him, and they see Buddy running out of the woods, and he says, "It's coming, boys, it's coming!" And the boys start wildly shooting into the trees, and then all of a sudden, the creature comes running out of the woods, and he gets Farmer Billy. So Farmer Billy has been gotten. He's been got. And then the creature, he gets Buddy Boy. He's next. So Buddy Boy's been got. And then Junior, he's all alone. He's trying to make some kind of bargain, like the creature would make some deal with him, but it doesn't work, and he gets ate too. So boom, boom, boom. Everybody gets ate. Everybody gets got. Meanwhile, cut from there, Preston is trying to contact the girls. So he goes online to the White Pages cellular directory, because as we know, the internet's working, and he gets one of the girls' phone numbers. He remembers earlier they said each other's names, so he was able to find her phone number that way. He then sends a message to the girls' phone via text. They go over to the girls. They finally notice that their friend, who was taken off into the woods earlier, that she is missing. And Preston succeeds in sending a message to one of the girls' cell phone, which is in the driveway from when she was snatched. So the girls pick up the phone, and they finally see the text. It says their friend's been taken. Meanwhile, Preston is trying to open the window to communicate. He's kind of trying to open the window. So the girls, of course, call the police to report a missing person from the cell phone because landlines aren't working. And of course, they can't do that for 48 hours as tradition. And the girls finally notice Preston from the window, but of course they still think he's just a creep, and they just go inside. Meanwhile, Nurstick, he's drinking, he's making dinner, he's having a good time, doesn't really notice Preston banging against the window and messing up the lights, like flicking them. Nurstick then passes out, so it's a good time to look up stuff about Bigfoot. for Preston. So he starts looking stuff up because the internet's working. So there have been a lot of sightings in the area of a creature, but the expert on the show, or the clip that he's looking at, he doesn't think that's Bigfoot. He thinks it's bigger than Bigfoot. It's the abominable snowman of the Himalayas. So that's what he says it is. And he's the expert, so that tracks. Hop over to the girls' story. The girls are outside. They're arguing about looking for their missing friend. There's a heated debate, and one of the girls throws a margarita in the other girl's face. The girls go back inside. The girl who had the drink thrown in her face, she goes to take a shower to clean up. There's some nudity here, if you're into that. And Bigfoot is creeping outside the window, and then Preston is creeping on Bigfoot. And so he wakes Nurse Dick up to come over and say, hey, there's stuff going on. And the nurse is like, he thinks that Preston is just staring at the girls in the shower and creeping on the girls. Preston's like, no, don't you see? There's a freaking Bigfoot over there. He's just in there. But anyway, so Nurse Dick walks off, and Preston, of course, flips in the bird, as he deserves. Okay, so this next scene is shocking. It gets me every time. I've seen this movie a couple times now, and every time I'm just like, ah! Even though I know what's gonna happen. So after the shower, the girl, she's like wiping off, and there's like a window there. And Bigfoot grabs her through the window and pulls her outside, and like she bends in half. It's a crazy scene. At 53 minutes into this film, 53 minutes, this is what happens. It's kind of gruesome. Like, if you want to skip it, that's where it is. That's your warning. If you want to just watch that scene, it's right there at 53 minutes. So anyway, this happens, and it is, when I say it's a crazy scene, it is a crazy scene. So Preston starts yelling for Nurse Dick to come out and help because he's seeing what's going on. But she's already been pulled out. So when Nurse Dick goes over there, he doesn't see what happened. He doesn't believe Preston. He just sees that the girl is now like out, like gone. She's just gone. And he can't really tell if the window's been broken. So Preston grabs Nurse Dick's arm. So he just kind of grabs him because he's really getting upset. And then Nurse Dick hits him. He hits him. He's the worst nurse ever. He hits him. And I'm just like, he's just so awful. And this is like the pinnacle of his awfulness, is that he hits him. So Nurse Dick walks away, and he comes back with some meds, something to calm Preston down. But there's a little struggle. Preston actually ends up getting the syringe from Nurse Dick and ends up drugging him instead. So he goes out like a light. So we don't have to worry about him for a while. And then suddenly Preston turns around and Bigfoot is in the window. It's in the window. Much screaming ensues. It's great. Meanwhile, shock of shocks, the cops actually received Preston's email. One cop says it might be the Flatwoods Monster, and they don't really go into detail about it, but of course there's like monster theories around, and there's monster sightings around this area. And the sheriff, of course, doesn't want to investigate, but this other cop, of course, he's got a feeling inside that this might be something. So after being knocked out, because he got the syringe in, but he also kind of like knocked him out. So Preston's been out for a while too. So he starts to wake up on the floor, and he gets to his wheelchair and he looks out the window, and the girls are knocking on the bathroom door to see what's up with their friend who's, been in there for a while. Preston goes to his kitchen for a knife. He makes this nice Jaws reference. He picks up a knife. He's like, gonna need a bigger knife. So he goes to the closet and he gets a pickaxe that he used for climbing. That'll do. That's big enough. So then he gets an email message from the police department to stop pranking them. And so it looks like Preston is on his own with all of this. So going back to the girls, they've been knocking on the bathroom door for a while, and their friend is not responsive. So they go outside, because in the cabin there's like a window on the balcony for some reason. You can kind of see into the bathroom from there. So they go outside, look in the window, and they see that she is gone, and there's blood. They start freaking out and saying, it's time to get out of there. And you're like, finally, okay. So the girls run and hide, and Bigfoot is at the window. Bigfoot's at the window. So Preston throws the pickaxe through his window to get Bigfoot's attention, and then we finally get to see him. So, because, you know, like in creature features, there's a very slow build to actually seeing the creature, because you know, normally when you see the creature finally in a horror film, it's not as scary. It kind of takes some, because part of the fear is the mystery of what is it? What does it look like? And then when you kind of see it, it's not as scary anymore. But anyway, so we finally get to see it, and this is the best Halloween store Bigfoot I have seen. And it looks kind of like the actor Nick Offerman. I'll do a comparison here. If you see it, like it looks like a combination of Nick Offerman and Bigfoot. Like if they had a child, Nick Offerman became a forced bride, that would be their love child. That's what it would look like. I'm just saying. But anyway, back to the story. Bigfoot is not bothered by Preston at all and proceeds to enter the girls' cabin. So Preston's trying to still help the girls. He starts yelling out the window, and a girl, the one from earlier who saw him with the little meet cute, who smiled at him, she of course finally notices him. They start yelling back and forth about whether or not they can call the police, and they're like, oh, the landline is dead, the phone can't get a signal. And then suddenly Bigfoot is in the house, and the girls, they just start running and hiding everywhere. And so there's some very intense scenes. So Bigfoot pulls a girl through the ceiling and starts to eat her. This is a pretty violent film. So he pulls her through the ceiling, starts eating her. Things have escalated very quickly. There's running and commotion, and the girl that he likes, she jumps through a window to get away. Another girl goes to the Jeep. Bigfoot chases her and he gets her. She does pepper spray him though, so she pepper sprays Bigfoot, but he does get her. She got too. And then our girl, that Preston and her, they had the little thing. She's our final girl, and so she runs to Preston's house and he lets her in. And looks out the window to see if Bigfoot is there, and he's fine. He's gone. Can't see him anywhere. So all of this girl's friends are dead. She's the last one left. Preston's very caring and soothing, but not in a creepy way. I had good vibes from this. So every horror film I have noticed has an Oscar moment. An Oscar moment in horror to me is that it doesn't matter how bad the story is or the acting or anything in it. It doesn't matter how bad this plot is. There's an actor who decides he's going for it. He is committing. He is committing to this role and doing just a great scene. He is doing a great scene. Every horror film has one, even the worst ones that you can find. There's always an Oscar moment. So 1 hour and 8 minutes, Preston has his Oscar moment. He tells a story of his accident, how he and his wife were in that tragic accident on Suicide Rock. So he just basically just tells her the story. That we know she died, he's paralyzed, blah blah blah. It's great. So after the Oscar speech, they decide it's time to make a plan. So they get Preston's climbing stuff out and other outdoor stuff. They're just getting stuff. They're trying to be quiet about it. And they also decide they're going to set a trap for Bigfoot. So while Preston sets a trap, Amanda goes to email the police department. And yes, Preston finally explains that the internet is working off of a satellite. I don't know why you wouldn't have your phone also working off a satellite, but it's okay. I guess the internet's what's important. Of course it is. But that answers that question. And then Bigfoot winds up cutting the power. I don't know if he knows about power or if he's just that good. He's just that good. But anyway, Bigfoot cuts the power before she can send another email. And so they can hear Bigfoot trying to get in. And so they grab the climbing gear. And Bigfoot, he's like outside. He's by the front door. And they're trying to be quiet about it. And Amanda, she also grabs an axe. Smart girl. That's a good melee weapon. So Amanda starts getting into this climbing harness. So their plan to get out of the house and away from Bigfoot is that they decide they're going to climb over the railing of Preston's like second floor. They're going to climb over the railing and they're going to climb down from the second floor. Which I also understand this is Preston's moment to confront his fear about climbing and his accident. But please keep in mind, my whole thing is like, Bigfoot pulled Amanda's friend through the ceiling. Like, I don't think some stairs and some ropes are going to be a problem for him. Like, this is a vicious beast of a Bigfoot. You know, you pulled someone through a ceiling. Come on. But this is the plan. This is the plan that's going to work. So Preston goes over the side first and lowers himself down. Amanda then goes over and she starts to lower herself, but Bigfoot gets to the rope, starts pulling her up, trying to pull her back up, and Bigfoot has Amanda, and he's holding her, and you think it's going to be over, but that Nurse Dick comes and saves the day, surprisingly. So Nurse Dick uses the aforementioned axe, and he hits Bigfoot in the back with it. However, this does not faze Bigfoot at all, who proceeds to bite Nurse Dick's face off. I do like that he has a redeeming quality here because he's awful through the whole movie except here. But this is a really brutal death. Like, he bites his face off. It shows everything. All FX. It's pretty good. So after that, Bigfoot goes to pull Amanda back up, but she like unclips herself from the harness and she falls and she gets away. So they're getting away. So she carries Preston to the car. And they're going to try to get away. Bigfoot shows up and he grabs the rear of the car and they start to get away, but then they crash and Amanda goes through the windshield. Of course she does. So they're kind of knocked out, but Preston's like knocked out. We can see Bigfoot, like Amanda's on the ground now. And he can see Bigfoot coming towards Amanda and she's just laying on the ground, unconscious. So he starts honking the horn and Bigfoot freaks out. He freaks out. And he doesn't like the car horn. Bigfoot then runs towards the car and the axe is still like casually in Bigfoot's back. So Preston uses his hand to put the car in reverse and he pins Bigfoot to the tree, causing the axe to go all the way through him, and Bigfoot's still putting up a fight. But with Bigfoot pinned to the tree, Preston crawls out of the car towards Amanda. Bigfoot finally starts to slow down and he dies. It was a very long death. Then Preston he's laying on top of Amanda, like the scene from The Wedding Planner. She's like, "Why are you on top of me?" Like, I always think of that scene. Whenever I see this scene, I think of that scene. I just do. And the first time I saw it, I kept like, "Why are you on top of me?" And my boyfriend who's watching with me, he has no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm like, "It's from another movie." He doesn't know. It's okay. But anyway, Amanda's okay. So then she starts dragging Preston to the road. The police finally show up. Preston and Amanda are rescued and taken to the hospital. We have this whole like, this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship, because I'm getting a friendship vibe here. I'm not really getting a romantic vibe. I'm getting a friendship vibe. So that's really nice. But wait, it's not over. It doesn't end with them going to the hospital. So after Preston and Amanda are taken to the hospital, the cops are looking around the woods for the creature and the bodies, which they can't find anything. They can't find the creature, they can't find the bodies, or bodies of nothing. So the cops are standing around in the snow when they hear a twig snap. And the sheriff, he's like, "Oh, you guys are cowards," because they're like being jumpy about it. He's like, "You guys are cowards." But then suddenly there are a bunch of yellow eyes in the woods, and there are lots of Bigfoots in the woods. So many Bigfoots. And then the cops are in trouble. And then it's the end. Ta-da! That's it. It's great. So that was a crazy ride. So overall, I really like this movie. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. I will watch it on any lazy, rainy Sunday afternoon. If it's on, or if I just put it on, sure, I'll watch it, cuddle with my cat. It's got some good jump scares. It kept me entertained. As I said, sometimes that's all you can ever ask for a film. So let me know in the comments if you've watched it, if you like it, if you don't, or if you have some other movies that you think I should watch. Because I'd like to do like a little series like this. I think it'd be fun. I already have a bunch in mind. I have seen so many of these obscure horror films, and I just want to share them because it's a lot of fun. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!